Yeah, this year it'll be like 20 years of My Brother Nikhil. So they were doing it because it was supposed to be done. It was needed to be done, kind of a thing. In a society that refuses to accept it, for me it's important to say it out loud. But you don't see 10%, you don't even see 5%, you don't even see 1% of our films reflect our stories. There is zero chemistry or interaction between the queer characters. They're again so subtle and so invisible. What is important is that you have a good original story to tell, and then you can reach out to film festivals and you can reach out to your audience and slowly grow. It's important to keep telling our stories despite all the challenges.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Timeline Conversation. Today, we are honored to be joined by one of Indian cinema's most courageous and compelling voices, director, writer, producer, editor, and a true champion of independent cinema. It's none other than Bollywood filmmaker Onir. Welcome to Timeline Conversation, sir. So, how are you? Are you back from San Francisco?
Yeah, I just got back yesterday, so it's been a very good trip.
Yeah, okay. So, let me start with My Melbourne.
Sure.
Yeah, so as you step into an exciting new collaboration for the second edition of My Melbourne, alongside cinematic icons like Rajkumar Hirani, Sodit Sarkar, and Anjali Menon. So, what's the creative chemistry like working in such a diverse team? And what themes are you personally looking to explore through your lens?
With My Melbourne one already, we were working with I was working with three different other filmmakers who are very different in terms of their style. Imtiaz Ali, Kabir Khan, and Rima Das. Me and Rima more from the independent space, where Imtiaz and Kabir more from the mainstream space. But still, all our styles are very different. Yet we worked together, and it was a very, very precious, working experience. This time, of course, it's like I'm the only one who is remains from the original set of filmmakers, and there are three new filmmakers. Uh, I know all of them personally, and Sujit had helped me with the Bengali dialogues in the previous one. So there has always been interaction. Rajkumar Hirani, I know for a very long time.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to this one, and in this one, we hope to also be able to link the stories,
Okay.
you know, and that is something that we are trying to work on. But we have just right now started the process of, you know, uh, getting the application, selecting the team, and the story. So we're not yet finalized who is doing which stories. Uh, but I think over the next couple of months it will be decided.
Yeah, okay. Looking forward. So, from My Brother Nikhil. So, whenever I go back to YouTube and check all the comments, I still see people commenting down, okay, who is here in 2025 for this masterpiece? So, from My Brother to Pinecone, your cinema has consistently challenged its stigma. So, how do you see your evolution as a filmmaker over these 2 decades?
Yeah, this year it'll be like 20 years of My Brother Nikhil. And
Yeah.
after Pinecone, right now, actually, I'm traveling with the film We Are Fahim and Karun. That's what with I was in San Francisco, Frameline.
Uh-huh.
For me, I think in a way, it's kind of interesting that in 2006 we did the film. In 2005 we did the film independently,
Mm.
and right now, when trying to make cinema that talks about queer narratives, one is still doing it independently, which just shows that as an industry, there's not too much of space that's been created for queer filmmakers telling queer narratives from a queer gaze. Most of I feel, especially after 2018, there was a little bit increase,
Yeah.
and now again there is kind of disinterest. I think it kind of reflects or a effect of what's happening in the US with Trump coming in. In India, also suddenly all the corporates which were talking of inclusion and diversity have suddenly stopped talking of, and I think this also stands true for the industry, the interest in talking about queer stories have suddenly become lesser, in a way which unmasks them, that their entire concept of diversity inclusion is more to do with ticking the box than actually going all out and keeping on the dialogue. So they were doing it because it was supposed to be done, it was needed to be done, kind of a thing. So I feel, the considering that we're the largest filmmaking country in the world, the space for queer cinema has not drastically changed. It has opened up a little with some of the OTT platforms and all covering it, but again, it's very, very nominal. It's not something that one can really, really celebrate about. Uh, and for me, the journey has been, especially the last few years, I've been telling more queer stories, be it Pinecone, be it my section of Melbourne called Nandini, or my new film, We Are Fahim and Karun,
Mhm.
which would again be perhaps the first queer story coming out of Kashmir. It's in Kashmiri language, shot entirely in Kashmiri. So I feel that in a way, a lot of my films, especially which deals with queer narratives, have been the first of its kind.
Yeah.
Be it I Am being one of the early films to be crowdsourced and crowdfunded through social network. And also dealing with stories which were all kind of marginalized and uh,
And I think
not something
that was the first full-fledged movie in Bollywood talking about same-sex relationship and feeling those
that
topics.
was My Brother Nikhil.
Yeah, yeah, my
Yes.
brother. Like, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel that I'm continuing that same journey,
Hmm.
pushing the envelope more, because for me it's important to tell stories which are no longer just about uh, the world accepting us, but seeking other uh, aspects, narrating other aspects of queer stories, be it queer desire, looking at invisibility in different spaces and trying to challenge that invisibility.
Yeah, yeah. So, as you or since you talked about this, current films in Bollywood, like once Anurag Kashyap said that Bollywood is more into commercial films and it lacks creative freedom. So, do you think that the industry has to change a lot?
The industry has, I mean, I think like when with Anurag's comment, I feel that it had never really changed drastically. It was always the same.
Mhm.
People choose Some independent filmmakers at times choose suddenly to become mainstream and then again come back to independent. And then, and I feel that the struggle for people like me who have always remained independent, it's been always there. So
Yeah.
it's not something that I'm waking up to. And the need for the industry to be inclusive has always been there. You know, uh, what I find also is right now there's only one kind of narrative, be it in a lot of independent space or mainstream, is with a lot of violence and gangsters. And I'm quite done with, I've been there is an overdose of that, as if there is no other narrative beyond underworld
Yeah.
and a lot of killing and gore. And so I think, as a filmmaker who does not subscribe to that genre, it
Yeah.
becomes even more difficult.
Yeah, yeah, understood. And I would like to comment on this Houseful Five because that film has commercially succeeded and it was successful. So how do you look at it? Still, such films are being made, and
I mean, at the end of the day, why do we have to look at Houseful Five? If you look at, be it Animal or Kabir Singh, they were all like huge successes. And also, there was a lot of what you call sense of that, oh my god, this is the right thing, even by the makers, not only he by saying that, okay, this happens in life, women go and watch it, but there's a lot of women who also perpetuate patriarchy, and that doesn't make it okay.
yeah.
And patriarchy is something that has seeped in deeply into the culture, and to perpetuate it and feel entitled to be doing it and feel proud and arrogant about it is extremely sad.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and I feel a largely the audience is also to blame that we celebrate. I mean, we not only celebrate misogyny and patriarchy, we also celebrate so much of violence.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand.
Mhm. Okay. So, have you seen the Malayalam movie Marco?
No, I've not seen.
Yeah. So, since you talked about violence, so it was full of violence.
Yeah, when I get to know that a film is too violent, I just don't go.
Yeah.
I don't go to
Yeah.
watch. You know, because these days also there are filmmakers who
Uh-huh.
start, boasting about the fact that, oh, my film is the most violent film. And someone will say, that, no, my film is the most
Yeah.
violent.
Okay.
Why is that even a criteria?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got it. So let me talk about this. Kuch Bhi Gaya Alfaz was a total, tonal shift is there. So soft and poetic. So what do you to tell that story, and how do you approach genre versatility?
So when actually the script came to me, I was script supervising for a Sundance uh, kind of organized script workshop.
Okay.
And when I read the script, I really liked it, and I reached out to the writer, and he was really excited about me directing it. What I really liked is it was again a kind of romance that you don't hear these
Yeah,
days.
yeah,
You know, it's gentle, soft. At the same time, I realized that the magic of radio was something that was coming back because people traveling by car, by train, whatever, are constantly again going back to the radio and listening.
yeah.
And I thought how it would be nice to create a quote unquote old fashioned
Okay.
love story with a very modern approach of, be it this chats and WhatsApp messages and memes and the radio.
Okay.
And yeah, that's what was exciting. But at the same time, to bring in elements
Mhm.
of, the girl as leukodoma. So I think
Yeah.
it's one of the first films where the main lead actor
Yeah.
is shown as someone who has leukodoma. So I try to, address even within that space other layers.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So the movie I Am was one of the earliest examples of crowd-funded Indian cinema. So, and I heard that it was financed by donations from 400 different people. So, what are your thoughts on how independent film funding has changed since then?
I feel that at that point the reason for going for crowdfunding through social media is I realized no one would fund those films, and I wanted to make it, and I was just trying. I put out a post on Facebook, and people started reacting, and I think that even now the challenge remains in terms of independent cinema is how do you like, for example, Pinecone I shot on my iPhone,
Yeah.
you know, for
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I shot on my iPhone the entire film, whereas Via Fahim and Karun, I used my entire life insurance, which had just, matured to make the film. So the challenge continues because the industry is not interested in telling certain stories. Neither are the OTT platforms, keen on those stories. So then but at the same time, it's important to tell the stories. So how do you do it? And I feel because of the world economy and all, overall,
Mhm.
even in terms of crowdfunding or whatever, it's more and more difficult for
Uh,
people to be because entertainment is looked as something which is an afterthought. First, you have to take care of your basic necessities,
yeah.
and that's the thing that you can see overall the number of people going to the theaters because, again, tickets are so expensive. The entire process of going to a cinema is so
Mhm.
expensive. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so there are a lot of people coming to cinema, and they are really wanted to become directors. So, but they are not able to find good producers and all. So, do you think that okay, this town funding might help them, or they have a way to start
I
film?
think one of the ways is to, always go through. script workshops. There are international script workshops. The minute your scripts get validated in a good filmmaking workshop, then the possibilities of getting, because what happens, a lot of people write their script without even, everyone thinks whatever they've written is the best ever thing, but they don't get it validated through a proper workshop, through to know actually where they stand, you know and they don't want to go through the process. And it has become, because of this, at the end of it, cinema going has become very expensive. Number of OTTs have come down, so it does affect the entire independent filmmaking industry more, because everything is so star centric. And I also think that most of these spaces have people who are not really interested in filmmaking. They're more interested in just keeping their job, because very often you hear of 150, 200 crore film which loses 100 crores. Yet the same people will, if you go to them with a 5 crore film, they're like, oh, we'll have to think how to market and how to recover. And I'm like, that means you don't know your job, because your job is, if you have a good thing, to reach out to that, whatever is that niche audience.
Yeah.
If I have a Shahrukh Khan, I don't need to, I mean, there's no rocket science is marketing.
Yeah.
So I feel there is that lack of energy in these people to take up the challenge that, okay, this is something good, let me market it. Because how much money can you lose in a 5 crore film when you're happily losing hundreds of crores in such big,
Hmm.
terrible films?
Okay. Yeah, got it. Got it. So your documentary, Widows of Vrindavan, was a deeply moving exploration of abandonment and dignity. So how did that experience, change you personally? Because still people are facing, I mean, women are confronting such situations in their life.
Yeah. So for me, when I made the documentary, I had just not gone straight and started shooting. I'd gone first time, spent time with the mothers there, and it really moved me, their stories, that this whole thing that they try to tell themselves that they've come there for taking refuge in God and, spirituality and praying. But the truth is that they are there because they were chased out of their homes. They try to tell themselves that whole lie to feel better, you know. And it's very, very sad. And I feel that the fact that even today there are so many people who face uh, this kind of treatment at home once their husbands are dead, you know,
Yeah.
uh, over property, over various issues, kind of a thing. It was a sad reflection. And I feel that uh, as a society, we need to figure out, because more and more people in this country are coming into that old age group
Yeah.
who need support, and we don't have, be it infrastructure for good old age homes and safety and care facilities for older people. And for me, it really moved me, this the stories of those women. And that's why I wanted to make the documentary, because it's not about just ashram, it's also at home. How do you treat your parents or your grandparents, and how happy they can feel if you just sit and talk to them for a while.
So, Pinecone, that your semi-autobiographical film, was received with warmth globally. And I like that sentence, like, see you in moonlight. So, what was the most emotionally difficult scene for you to shoot?
I think for me, emotionally difficult was perhaps the first story, which comes as the last story,
Okay.
third story, which was talking about his first love.
No,
And, the scene where young Sid, you know, uh, is told by his first love that this is Derek, that that this is sin and we should never ever meet again. So that was difficult, because that also you know uh, reminded me of uh, my first love. And it was, and the fact that I never ever met him was
Yeah, yeah.
emotionally difficult even while shooting.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And what role do film festivals like Kashi or Florence, Melbourne play in shaping visibility for LGBTQ plus narratives in Indian cinema?
I think film festivals form an important part of the journey of such films. At least it reaches out to an audience who, give you love, give you courage to keep telling these stories, uh, and sometimes it also helps in terms of distribution. You know, uh, Unfortunately, earlier, the more you went to festivals, it was easier to get a platform. Now, things have become even difficult, even if you have, it is also to do with censor board and, various, because you'll see some very good films which have gone to big film festivals like Agra, Peddlers and all, which have still not released anywhere, so the challenges are more, and especially more if it's queer film narratives. So at least film festivals provide you a space to interact with the audience, to reach out to the audience. But I think what is important is this film festivals also become a space for sales and distribution. Then
Yeah.
it will be truly worthwhile.
Yeah. Okay. So you worked internationally, studied in Berlin, and continue to collaborate globally. So how do those influences show up in your Indian storytelling? Because I heard somewhere that you spend most of your time in childhood watching movies.
Yeah, so I grew up watching a lot of Bollywood and Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, a lot of my mother used to take us to a lot of art cinema. At that time, it used to be called art cinema, right from Shyam Benegal, Adur,
Okay.
Satyajit Ray, Ritik Ghatak, all those. So somehow slowly, my
Mm.
interest was more in those kind of films. And then when I went to college in Calcutta, I was exposed to world cinema. I stopped watching Bollywood and I was watching European cinema and good Bengali cinema and all that. And then when I went to Berlin, I feel that in a way, a lot of my people tell me a lot of my texture is more European. Though I use the language of Indian cinema, I love music, I love songs, but I use it differently, not the usual Bollywood way. And I think my texture, my way of working has a lot of European. I like a lot of pre-production, discipline while working, a lot of planning, which comes from my training in Europe, and also a certain sense of not over the top, kind of a thing. Whereas at the same time, I think my emotions, my stories, my treatment of music is more Indian.
Yeah, okay. So talking about I am, Afya's here, Omer is here, and the issues of Abhimanyu's persist. So, what you said years ago still holds true. So the stigma in society continues. How can you cope with
I
it?
feel
How can you?
that I think the society change is very slow. The fact that 2005 I made My Brother Nikhil, 2018 is when the Supreme Court verdict decriminalized homosexuality. So it was much before that I did it. Similarly, I think slowly now schools, colleges, everywhere they're willing to talk about sexuality and child sexual good touch, bad touch. Though there is slow change happening in terms of schools talking about good touch, bad touch,
Hmm.
uh, there is much more of surrogacy happening right now, whatever. But it's a slow process, and unfortunately, in our country, I think the focus is more on temples and religion and statues rather than the real things that need to be addressed.
So even government is also, interfering in that issue, like in that subjects actually. So censorships are there.
Yeah, because yeah, I feel that unfortunately the government does not operate on what is right and what is wrong. Rather, they go on the populist, way of looking at thing. Uh, which is very often very problematic.
So, how has the entertainment industry in India, especially Bollywood, changed after 2014?
I feel that right now there is a huge amount of self censorship
Yeah.
happening, because of the fear of what the censor board might. You hear of so many films like Dibakar's
Yeah.
Titis, like Hani Teran's a film on Punjab. All of them have been, stopped by the censor board.
Santosh
There are
film.
constant FIRs
Yeah.
happening. Santosh is banned in India. So, suddenly anything that questions the government, whereas cinema and art is supposed to question, you know is being silenced, and it has affected the industry. People are afraid to work on stories that, so self censorship is happening at the, when you are even writing that, oh, let's not talk about religion, let's not talk about politics. There are too many things let's not talk about, and these days it's very easy. Someone or the other says my sentiment is hurt, and there's a FIR, you know. So no one thinks of the artist's sentiment.
So you will always said in your memoir that I'm Onir and I'm gay, and that's been a powerful statement in Indian cinema. So what gave you the courage to say it first, and what keeps you going?
The refusal of being invisible. I do not believe in being in the closet, and I don't think that anyone should be in the closet. And for me, it is when a society refuses to acknowledge my identity, I'll make it a point to. I hope for a society where one does not have to make that, you know, headline.
Yeah.
But in a society that refuses to accept it, for me, it's important to say it out loud.
Yeah. Okay. So, have you faced any direct institutional pushback in Bollywood because of your identity? And if so, how to
I
navigate?
feel direct but indirect because there is silent homophobia everywhere.
Oh,
I feel that a lot of people think that, oh, Honor means he can only direct a certain kind of films. That's their shortcomings.
yeah.
It's not mine, because I feel most straight people are incapable of telling good queer stories, and that's why they think that any gay person is incapable of doing anything more just because they are incapable. But the fact that there are some of very well known closet filmmakers who are making extremely mainstream big films
Mm.
and successful films and all genre films.
Yeah. Mhm.
uh, so one faces homophobia and being bracketed in a certain space,
Yeah.
uh, but for me that would not be the reason to go back into the
Mm.
closet.
So there were several Malayalam movies those discussed gay relationship. One was moved on by Geedu Mohandas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you had the chance to watch it?
Yes, I've watched Muthon, I've watched stories coming in, but there was in 2005, there was this film called Sancharam, I think.
Okay.
Sancharam,
Sanchar.
which was a lesbian film, which was a very beautiful film
Uh-huh.
and very bold, beautiful film at that time. So I feel again it's far too few and still very, very subtle about the queerness.
Okay.
You know, I want to see bolder
Uh-huh.
films, and more films
Yeah.
which address queerness, because there are so many stories,
Yeah.
you know, and people say that, theoretically we are supposed to be 10% of the population. I think it's much more, but you don't see 10%, you don't even see 5%, you don't even see 1%
Yeah.
of our films reflect our stories.
Mm.
So I feel that there is a huge necessity. The problem is the street world is extremely insecure
Yeah.
to watch queer stories. They feel,
Mhm.
what will people think that, and I'm like, all my life I've been watching straight stories. I've not turned straight.
Mm.
Why are they so scared?
Oh.
It's their own insecurity.
So have you watched Kadal by Geo Baby?
Yeah, Kadil the Ghost. Sorry, I say with Mammootty, which is
Yeah,
really important that we have such a big star. The reach is wide,
yeah.
but for me, the only thing I was disappointed is that there is zero chemistry or interaction between the queer characters. They're again so subtle and so invisible. I'm like, oh, I wish it was more.
India still struggles with LGBTQ plus representation in mainstream narratives, as you said. So, what systemic changes would you like to see in the industry?
I have stopped thinking about that because it won't happen.
Okay, I get your point. Then, okay, so what's your message, your queer creators in small towns of India who may have, stories,
I
but
feel that yeah, I feel today that with digital, filmmaking, that
yeah, okay.
do not
Social media is booming.
scare. Everything is not about scale.
Yeah,
You can go out and make a film,
yeah.
be it a short film, be it a feature film with your phone.
Mm.
Just make sure that what is important is that you have a good original story to tell, and then you can reach out to film festivals and you can reach out to your audience and slowly grow. It's important to keep telling our stories despite all the challenges.
Yeah. Okay. So you once said that it was Shyam Benegal's Junoon that made you want to be a filmmaker. So what about
Yeah.
that film struck such a chord?
I was in class 8, so at that time I didn't really understand everything. The
Okay.
visuals, the music, you know, everything just remained with me. I was just awestruck
Yeah.
that how can a film be so beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
And started thinking that, okay, this is what I want to do in life.
Okay, okay. So okay, you speak multiple languages, love world cinema, and your chords. So if you had to choose one Indian cinema,
I don't have
it is.
one favorite film. There are just too many good films and too many good books to, go by. But one of my favorite Indian filmmakers is Ritik Ghatak. I have shot for Pinecone in Kochi.
Kochi.
I
Okay.
Kochi, and I've been to Trivandrum Film Festival a couple of times, and I think it's one of the best
Oh,
film festivals in India.
okay.
I love the way the audience, reacts to it. Uh, and I felt very sad that Pinecone and VR, which is traveling around the world, did not make it to Kerala. So I wish the selectors were slightly more interested in queer narratives,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah,
So yeah, but I love the
yeah,
festival,
that happened. Okay. So which is
and I love the food in Kerala. It's
okay, okay.
incredible.
Uh, like which food? Like what kind of?
I remember like when we were in Kochi, I was having a lot of
Yeah.
seafood
Oh.
and everything. The beef and everything is so tasty.
Yeah. Okay.
My mouth was not thinking. I love the home dosas, the thick ones, not the thin paper.
Uh-huh.
The
Like attu
dosa.
dosa.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
those ones. Uppam and a whole lot of things. I
Mm.
just love.
Okay. Okay. So, which is your favorite latest Malayalam movie and an actor, if any?
Oh, I love Fahad Fazil,
Fahad Fasil. Okay. Okay.
and I love Nimisha.
Nimisha.
Yeah, I loved her. Couple of films of hers that
Great Indian.
both of them I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Great Indian Kitchen and the original one. I prefer that.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
one,
Okay.
and then I have seen couple of other films also. I forget the names with Fazal and her.
Mm-hmm.
That both of them were together in a film, which was an adaptation of Hamlet, I think. I forgot
Okay.
the name of the film. That was very powerful.
Okay.
Couple of films. And I also loved Kumbalinga Nights.
Kumbalangi Nights. Yeah.
Yeah, Kumbalinga Nights. I
Okay.
love that.
Yeah. Okay. And thank you so much, Chad. That was such an insightful conversation. So I wish you all the
Thank
best
you.
for your future projects and my Melbourne as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.